You don't know how many times I wanted to quit. How many times I should have quit. Why would a $1 million car that is so insanely specialized to run just be given away? Maybe that goes to say that there's no real leadership at colleges anymore and they just want to get money out of corporations and people and benefactors. And they're risk averse for a reason, because they're not actually there to be a betterment for the future in the world. KW makes the perfect suspension for every demand. Find them in the description below. What's up, people? Well, today I wanted to talk about the Lotus T125 that was a surprise donation to the Genius Garage educational programs and why it was donated. Now, to be honest, I can't tell you specifically why. I can tell you why I think it was donated, because I know of all the people who spearheaded and got together to make this happen. And I know that they have been watching Genius Garage and me since its very beginning. And you probably want to know, why would a $1 million car that is so insanely specialized to run just be given away? Because that doesn't happen. And you're right, it doesn't. So I thought the most important thing I could do is make this video and tell you why, because next week we're going to come back for a full fun tech review on this car. So for all of those of you who are really just into the car and are not as into the philanthropy and philosophy, then this probably isn't going to be the video for you. So maybe go watch a different one and have fun and come back. But we'll go into the full tech review next time, and we're going to get into some fun with it. Hopefully get to do some shakedown laps. This car is actually going to make a public appearance in November. Actually, I'll just plug it at the Velocity Invitational, November 11th through the 14th at Laguna Seca. Very exciting. And if we get the opportunity to fire it up and have a place to test the systems, get through all the startup procedures with everybody, we may even do some exhibition laps. So I'm really excited about that. But more importantly than that, and we're going to get into the why in just a second, this car is going to serve an even bigger purpose with Genius Garage, philosophy and charity, than I even realized, because I had mentioned in the first video how I'd always dreamed of doing a Genius Garage Masters program where the best of the best get invited back for Formula One level work and learning. But I've changed my mind. There's still going to be a Masters program where people are invited, but how they get invited to be part of this is going to be the special thing that I think will shock you all. So let's get into why was what is effectively one of the rarest and fastest, most extreme cars in the world that was a $1 million car not very long ago just given away for the sake of education. Well, I think the way to answer that best relates to an article that was actually in Car Buzz not too long ago. This is back on September 2nd, so that's like not even 2 months ago, really. September, October, yeah, that wasn't very long ago. And the title was Genius Garage's Training Gearheads of the Future. And the subheading is Casey Putsch is showing engineering students how to build things in real life. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to kind of read this and go over the article, but in there, I'm going to then go into the meaning behind the article and what it took to actually do it, because I want you guys to understand Genius Garage and me, what it's taken to do this, as well as where I've found there be dragons in the world, which a lot of people know about, and hence why they decided to do something so insane as this car. Because let's be real, a car of this level that came straight from the Lotus Formula One program, this is the equivalent of like a mysterious king in mythology gifting a magical sword of legend to some random warrior. Like, this is like a modern mythological doesn't happen kind of thing. So let's get into the article here. This person here, Jake, actually writes, the skilled trades are hurting right now. Every industry from plumbing to carpentry to car repairs looking for workers, but there's no one to fill them. Students in my generation, X, he writes, were pushed into college as most of our parents didn't get a higher education. We dutifully followed, as did the next generation and the next, and now we're left without builders, makers, and doers. Ohio-based Genius Garage and its founder, Casey Putsch, are aiming to change that one student at a time. And he goes on to say, and that we teach kids the things they don't learn in school. And that basically I was self-taught and doing projects on YouTube and all, everything going on here, and how my degree centering in industrial design at Ohio State is not really the type you'd expect to see somebody using an English wheel and working on cars and doing engineering like this. But Jake did get it right. He basically started the school to right some wrongs here at Genius Garage. And he's exactly right. And I always kind of laugh if I ever see a rerun of a quantum leap, that like the character Scott Bakula was going back in time to make right what's went wrong. That's exactly why I did Genius Garage. It's possible to graduate a 4-year degree in mechanical engineering and never turn a screwdriver. And that is idiotic, completely idiotic. Even in the 90s when I was in high school, all the kids were pushed to college. And the kids that went to the trades, which was Sentinel Vocational School, to learn things like welding and machining and technical drawing, those kids were looked down upon, because that was considered blue collar and, oh, you're working with your hands. But the truth of the matter is, the kids that got to go to the vocational school were actually doing the smartest stuff. They were the ones who would have been the better engineers in college. And it annoyed me as a young person because I was pushed in the same college preparatory direction, but I would have rather gone to the vocational school to learn things like engineering drawing and machining and welding and gone in engineering. But the system was already broken from the high school level. It was already broken, and I knew that. And my college career was wrong and broken because of that. I had the acumen to build and create and do, but if you went into engineering, all you did was mouth and conceptual stuff. And maybe you go do something like Formula SAE and whatnot, and you're not hands-on. So that was a wrong that existed. But the other big wrong and reason why I did Genius Garage is, when you go through college, the system's kind of stupid. College exists in a vacuum where it's basically all theoretical. And most schools are afraid of scissors, let alone letting their students work on the better part of 1,000 horsepower race cars as a team where there's any kind of risk. And that doesn't work for industry in the real world. In fact, there's no real good mentors in college. The path is not there. And most internships that exist out in the world through industry really, at the end of the day, just become the cheapest way for a company to weed out who they don't want to hire. Internships aren't set up to train young people, and young people aren't getting everything they need in school because school can't do it. And industry isn't set up to train. But society is looking at college and blaming them. And college and universities are all there with their hands out trying to get money from wealthy benefactors, the state and the government for new programs that don't do squat. Colleges are already doing what they do well and have done it. But we've lost something in our society and civilization. And it had to do with the separation of class, the difference between blue collar and white collar since the 70s through the 90s really, and what we pushed into education. And what's worse than that in college has become predatory in the United States. And I mean that exactly the way as I say it. And I've seen it with kids, and I've had to save them. Because colleges can promote student loans. Student loans that come to the government that cannot be defaulted on. You have to pay them back no matter what, even though other loans in the world don't exist like that. You could go bankrupt. And the thing that's good about loans, where if a bank loans you money for a house, a business, or a car, and you've got no collateral at stake, they're not going to give you anything. And if it's a bad plan, they're not going to loan you any money. They only loan money for people they know who can pay it back. Yet for college and the government, colleges and universities can sell a 17-year-old kid to go in debt up to their eyeballs before they're even old enough to vote and get a degree that won't give them an ROI. Do you know how many kids I've had to save or tell them, look and see the jobs that are out there for what major? Mechanical engineering, awesome amount of jobs. Very diverse and wide range of things you can do. But colleges offer other degrees that are diluted and watered down and have fancy names and BS reasons to get a job where there's no job market. Look at a university and look at all the college majors that are offered where there's no job market. Yet those kids can go in debt up to their eyeballs for it. So when they graduate, they can't get a job, but they have to pay back the loan. So what have we done as a society to those kids in our future? We screwed them and we screwed us. Because now those kids who could be somebody, start a business, be awesome workers, be out there, be philanthropic, change the world for the better, are now in debt up to their eyeballs with no way to get out other than to paying back the government so the colleges and universities could get wealthy. And the colleges and universities get wealthy by being predatory on the kids because they're able to leverage government loans and stuff. And it's bullshit. It's total bullshit. So one, I want to urge you guys in this video that if you see young people going down that path, let them know what their actual job is going to be. And they need to treat school exactly the way they would if they were going to be a private equity person investing in a business. Is there an ROI? And if there isn't an ROI, stop sending our kids off to be indebted and ruined. You're screwing the future of our own country and world because of it. That's a problem. And that's something that people have noticed with what I'm doing with Genius Garage. And I'm not afraid to say it. And I want to say it because I, too, was somebody that got preyed upon those types of issues in college and wasted my time and saw it firsthand. So yeah, those were some wrongs I wanted to right. And I knew that if I was going to personally be involved with things I love, which were race cars and airplanes, and doing high-level work, I was already mentoring college students in engineering with fabrication because they didn't know how to, they couldn't build squat, and it's pathetic. So the idea to do Genius Garage was simple. If I was going to be involved with cars and racing anyway, I should do it in a way that matters for young people and give them the chance that I never had. Which brings us to another thing in this article it talks about. Let's see if I can find it. And the line was, Puch says he was shocked at how unphilanthropic the car racing and high-end vintage world was. It takes a lot of money to build a Pebble Beach winner, which doesn't leave much for charity. Now, that is very true. I was shocked. And I was most shocked at, I'm going to just call a spade, the vintage racing world and different facets of it. Because industry is hurting. Hobbies like racing and vintage racing, shall we say, or industries of them, are also hurting to find people. But they're all there basically for the greed and pride of, hey, look at my toy, it's better than yours. Hey, look how much money I spent on this. Aren't I cool? I'm going to go to a golf course lawn all day long and spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on this car to do that so I can maybe win a little trophy. Or what's worse yet, the guy that puts on his own concours and gets a trophy at his own concours. Now, I'm not saying you can't spend your money on what you want. It is America. But do you know how insane it is for people like that to say that there's no young people that care about something? But will spend millions of dollars on their little Fabergé eggs with wheels, but do jack squat for the future? Do you know how much it sickened me? Absolutely sickened me to watch people in the exotic car world. Well, I'm just going to show you this. Let's turn the camera. Here's my beat up Gallardo that I'm working on now. And I enjoy it and bought it well and I'm fixing it up. And it took me a long time to be able to earn to even have that. And it's a depreciated, bottomed out market value car. But do you know how disgusting it is to me as a person that's been working for years and not getting paid to help better young people's lives in the future of industry and everything? When people are perfectly happy to go out and buy a $500,000 exotic car and they don't care one lick that they're going to lose $200,000 to depreciation, really care? But yet they'll pay $100 to go get a dinner and all to do a charity drive or car show or something and clap for themselves and pat themselves on the back because they raised a few $1,000s for charity when they don't really care. You're not doing squat for the world. Yeah, that's where the chip on my shoulder comes. By the way, hi, CEO guy that told me to knock the chip on my shoulder off. No. The future needs people with a chip on their shoulder for the right reasons to change it. And I've been out here fighting for it. I know some of you think I'm too extreme, but someone and people decided to get behind giving a car of this level for someone like me to look after for the betterment of the future for young people. So I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep fighting. I want to tell you something else about education. I've tried to work with colleges with doing Genius Garage because with Genius Garage I have the ability to attract the brightest, most driven, best young people from around the world. And I literally have a waiting list of kids from every continent except Antarctica, I'm pretty sure. There's probably one working in Antarctica that wants to come here now. And a heck of a lot around the United States that want to come here because it's the only place in the world that does this. And if education had half a brain, we could attract the brightest young minds to it if we worked together. And I've worked with them. But these colleges have all shared one thing in common. They only know how to do one thing anymore. Only one thing. And that's this. Give us your money. But I ask the question, why would we give colleges and universities any more money when they're not doing anything more special? You know, another dirty secret about colleges and universities is, they may have mechanical engineering and things like that, but they always want to create a new major, a new program to promote to get other kids. Make it easier, water it down, make it diluted. Doesn't matter, just get their money. And what they do is they take classes from other majors and combine them with a new name. Because to be able to get government funding, they have to create a program with things they already have before they can be eligible to create new ones. Dirty secrets that I've learned from the university world. And I even had a woman, a high up at a university, meet with me, I don't know, a year or two ago when I was trying to work with one, which was a disaster, because in the end, they just wanted to control things and offered nothing whatsoever. She said to me that the financial model for the American educational system is going to collapse in 3 to 5 years. And she's right. And you know why? Because by every business metric, it should. And frankly, it should for the betterment of the future. Because I tell you something, I'm getting on a tangent here, but if people were able to default on student loans, it would self-correct the problem with the university system. Because the only people that would get it would be the ones that actually were going to create a return on the investment and can pay it back, i.e. be able to get a job and be the kind of student that should be there and get it. Rather than setting this up between the governments and the schools so kids can go out and be in debt for their eyeballs and stymie and handicap the future of a nation. It's garbage. So at Genius Garage, I did something interesting because we live in a very interesting day and age of social change and social need, social corporate responsibility, and we're trying to promote and help marginalized peoples of various different kinds get to the forefront and have an opportunity, right? It's not hard to do that. Just choose them based on what's in their head and in their heart. I have huge problems with the educational system, not with what they're teaching, but how much they're in bed with loans. So with Genius Garage, how did I do this for the betterment of all people regardless? None of the kids have had to pay tuition to be here. We went out and got funding and the ability to do this from mostly private individuals that care. And me, I care. Many thousands of hours and years of my life have gone into giving kids the shot. Because it was my turn. No one else was doing it and it had to happen. I could quote an old philosopher that basically said, if you have the ability to do something good, you're obligated to do it. But people didn't understand it. They did. And I'll tell you something else. Let's say the vintage racing community in the Concours world. I have seen a lot of these well-heeled people create foundations and create nonprofits that at first blush sound nice and they can promote. But when you break down what they're actually doing, it's just the cheapest way for them to get a tax write-off or to get advertising or to look good or free labor. And I hate those people. F*** them. I've seen too many of it. And some of them are bigger than you think. Led by large insurance companies, super famous or wealthy people. And it's bullshit. They don't care about the kids in the future. They care about their stupid cars. They only care about themselves. If you're ever going to donate to a nonprofit or charity, look at where the money is going. Look at who's put in the effort and work and what they've done with it. Because the one thing I've learned in all 8 years of doing Genius Garage, if you want to make the future better and help people, you don't have to start a nonprofit or charity. It's truth of the matter is, my opinion about nonprofits and charity, they were created by the wealthy for the wealthy. And it's virtually impossible to make these things work from the ground up. Unless you've got somebody that will, unless you have somebody really smart at the helm that doesn't mind donating all of their time and money to do something better and can figure out how to make it last. But I saw the worst of those things. And so has the people that decided to give this car. They too know the BS of charity. In fact, I'm going to tell you this. Charity is broken in the United States. The nature of nonprofits are also broken in the United States. And frankly, so are academia and universities. And I'm going to tell you right now the secret as to why. I'm going to give you a hypothetical. And this is going to trigger some people. So everybody just calm down and don't take this on a tangent. Let's keep going. If your charity, where you're giving money is to, let's say, cure a disease, or to help impoverished people get off the streets, and that entity gets money, well, they try to make a difference. But there comes a point where they have too much money and power. And if you actually solved the problem and cured the disease, or you got everybody off the streets and made a world a better place, that entity would lose its money and power. That's a problem. That's a big problem. The problem with universities right now is they make a heck of a lot of money off of kids that get lured to their fate of debt for majors that won't give them a return on the investment, that won't get them jobs, or kids that don't belong there in the first place. Because the kids can get loans real easy, and the universities can get money real easy. They have no accountability. I think those things are problems, don't you? So Genius Garage is something small in its physicality. Truthfully, I've only been to work with so many students with the amount of time I have to donate and others and the little amounts of money. But Genius Garage is very, very big and powerful in concept. And the other thing about it is, I wouldn't let it get mutated. Do you know how many people have tried to approach me to manipulate Genius Garage into being something for their betterment? Do you have any entities? A lot. This is also a reason I get a little bit salty. But this article in Car Buzz was really, really nice from Jake. And I have not seen, it was just very nice, and I appreciate he got it. I want to tell you guys something else here, and then I'm gonna read the part of the article where it talked about what a student said. You know, truthfully, in building Genius Garage initially, I thought people in the high-end car community, vintage car world, exotic car world, racing world would care because there's value to making their industry more relevant with this. I thought people in academia would care because there's value for them in making it work. And I thought people in industry would care more because they're not set up to train the better people of the future. Boy, oh boy, has it been a shock of learning of how the world actually works, creating a nonprofit from the ground up and fighting, because I've seen the worst of all of it. The people, both big and small, that try to schmooze to get something for nothing, or manipulate or use it. It's pretty awful. But YouTube and social media and how you're watching right now, this has been what saved Genius Garage. Social media has its problems. The algorithms are working against us as people. They tear us apart. They make us angry, literally. That's the best way to prey upon human nature, to get you feeding the machine of social media. And that's how it makes your money. All of them. They all work that way. Period. It's not good. But the good side of social media, it allows good things to get a voice and find a power of connecting with people that wouldn't exist otherwise. Because I tried to play the game with Genius Garage for years, and the people who made this happen with this Lotus saw it too. I tried to play the game, but I couldn't get any exposure from media. None. For Genius Garage. I couldn't get the word out. I thought maybe if we have a famous person endorse it, maybe that'll work. Nope, that doesn't work. Maybe if we can get an article too, that'll work. Nope, that doesn't work. I started to learn how things actually work. But by getting out on social media, I've been able to get the word out with Genius Garage and for the world to see it and understand and get it. And it's been, frankly, a beautiful thing. That is one of the biggest saving graces of social media, is that something real that matters, that's good, has a shot where it otherwise wouldn't. And frankly, that's how I ended up here. It's an interesting philosophical aspect of life, but I will personally reflect upon that later. Now, I am clearly stressed. And you can see I've got a little bit of an edge and teeth with this. Well, I would say you go fight for 8-9 years of your life. Fight hard. Put your own life behind to build something like this while you see your students go out and get 6-figure jobs. You make no money. You watch everything you ever worked for go away to be able to do it. And you might get a little edge too. Especially when you see everybody out there with power and all the entities and how the entirety of the academic system, industry, and wealthy people work. And tell me you won't end up having an edge. So I'm going to now say something nice here. This article said that our website is full of testimonials from students, including Madeline Burke. And the article writes, who went to Genius Garage in 2018? She noted that in addition to learning about vintage racing in the automotive world, she was also able to gain a little experience in the professional business world. And in quotation said, I grew to learn the importance of stepping out of my comfort zone, learning life skills that will help me in my future career field, and had the pleasure to see the impact on other students' lives as well. Before joining this program, I was one who would try to fade into the background, someone who thought my thoughts were invalid, and was content with staying in my comfort bubble, said Berg. Moving through the months of Genius Garage, I was put in situations where I was pushed to do better, situations where I was given the chance to have my input mean something on the team. I was given the opportunity to learn how to talk to important people, talk in public without being embarrassed, and showed that people depend on me and my responsibilities on a team, she said. You know, why did I do Genius Garage with race cars and airplanes and stuff? Well, I like them. But it's because it creates a team, it takes a team of people coming together to do something big. Or they're risking something, their time, their reputation, to compete. And by doing that and bringing those people together for a common goal, oftentimes very different people from different parts of the world, different sexes they identify with, different backgrounds, different levels of experience. By bringing those people all together for something positive, for a common goal, that's how you get the best out of them. Which also works on the scale of a nation. It probably tells you why everything's in turmoil right now. Because we have no common goal, and we have nothing bringing us together. We have these algorithms that sometimes do nice things that are tearing us apart. Remember that. By the way, if you're watching this, and on this channel, all you ever see is videos of mine that make you mad, those aren't all my videos. That's the algorithm knowing that those videos trigger you, and that's why it's putting it in front of your face. So maybe start watching and commenting on things out there that you find positive or good. And the algorithm will start showing you good things. That works for everybody, guys. So it says here that Puch's favorite products for the students are pro-level race cars like the IMSA Corvette. The team has to build a complete machine that is for public competition. There are also ones that change lives. I joke that an 18-year-old can fly a fighter jet into hostile territory, but colleges are afraid of scissors. True, which also comes down to leadership. Maybe that goes to say that there's no real leadership at colleges anymore, and they just want to get money out of corporations and people and benefactors, and they're risk averse for a reason, because they're not actually there to be a betterment for the future in the world. So I've been fighting for the last 8 years to do this. And lastly, you don't know how many times I wanted to quit, how many times I should have quit, and how many times people told me to quit. There was one time when I wrote one of the people involved with making this car happen and said, I can't do this anymore. I don't think the Genius Garage experiment can work. And it wasn't because it was good, it was based upon the way our society was structured. And the person wrote to me and said, don't feel bad. Nobody could have done it better than you, and I'm proud of you. But I didn't quit. Kept going. And the program grows. Now, truthfully, Genius Garage is small. I don't know how many students have gone through this in its entirety, maybe 60. But I can only do so much with my time and the tiny amount of money we've actually had. But it's had a profound impact around the world of people that are out there now helping others and mentoring others because they see what's happened here. Young people that go to school, the young people who have bared down in their majors harder when they wanted to quit to have a better impact in the future. And people out there that do good for others just because it's the right thing to do, not because it benefits them. I've got past students who now do charitable acts and are working to help out people that's of no benefit to them tangibly. I'd like to think that maybe they were touched by what happened here, that so many people came together to do. So this car here was donated. It was $1 million car. It's insanely highly specialized to even operate. Currently, it is plugged in multiple ways and can't be unplugged because of the nature of the systems. It has to be at certain temperatures before you can start it. There are certain procedures and protocols that have to be rock solid, flawless before you can do it. And when the car actually does go on a track, it has to be driven at nearly the full speed that it can be so it cools properly and does all the thing it has to. Otherwise, it'll ruin itself. Everything from the gearbox to the engine to the aerodynamics, everything is very specialized. And it's insanely fast. It's incredibly costly to fix, both in time and money. And there are not a whole lot of people, places in the world that should be able to operate it or even think of driving it. And no one would ever think of giving something like this to a school or letting young people work on it because they frankly don't have the experience level to do it. So why is it here? Well, I'd like to think that the people that made this happen, that have been watching for this many years, one, have seen that I've been doing Genius Garage for the right reason and killing myself to try to make it work for the betterment of students. I'd like to think that they see the philosophy that's here and the core values and the ones that have been rock solid that matter. I have a feeling they probably thought, based upon what they've seen here and with the leadership at Genius Garage, that we would be able to utilize the car well for the betterment of young people and teach them with it and not make fools of ourselves when we go out in public on the track, which is very nice. But I can tell you this as to the why. They didn't give a shit about a tax write-off. That didn't matter to the people. What they cared about is the future. What they care about are other people. What do you think about that? Exotic car world, vintage racing world, the university world, industry, all you CEOs out there that are doing nothing. What do you all think about that? I know what I think the general populace thinks, and the real car guys and gals out there. I know what the students think. They think it's awesome, that the world is a better place than they thought. And it is a better place than they thought. It's also worse. And for years I've been fighting the worse to make the better exist. I think more people need to do that. So this car is unreal. It's unreal that it was here, and it's unreal that it would literally be given away. But it's not. Not when you understand the best qualities of human nature. Sometimes they require a little stoking. They require the right people to fight, to keep them safe. So that's why it's here. Because I think the people knew that I would keep fighting. You know, truthfully, had I not done Genius Garage, I would be a hell of a lot better off financially in my own personal life. It wasn't until last year that my wife and I finally got a house. It was a fixer-upper. Looks pretty good now. But it's been a rough journey and a rough road. And this is where the chip on my shoulder comes from. So I challenge you all. It's a challenge if you made it here. What are you doing to make the world a better place? You know, I've seen people comment, and it's such a wonderful sentiment when they say, someday if I have money or in a position, I'll give the Genius Garage too. And I love seeing that, it's so nice. But I thought about it further and I thought, well, that's a cop-out. What are you doing with the time you have out there right now to better the lives of anybody else? We all can literally make the world a better place just by caring about others, seeing something wrong and making it right. And I want to say this too. I think this may be one of the worst symptoms of our time right now. People are afraid to stand up. They're afraid to stand up against things that are wrong. I'm not talking about silly movements and hashtags that find a power to cut people down and cancel them. I'm talking about people are afraid to stand up for what's right because they don't want to get involved. They don't want to get intact. It's not just people, it's corporations. It's people in the C-suite levels. It's people in universities. Because most of these people just care about their cushy lives and getting on with it. They just want their life and their money and to piss off and do it on. And they say things like, you can't change anything anyway. Well, we're proving you wrong. You can change things for the better. And it's important for people to stand up for good values. I'm not talking about whining and trying to cancel people on the internet. I'm talking about standing up for values in person, on the internet, in real life, making the world a better place. And if you're going to go out on the attack and make something happen, remember that actions speak louder than words. What have you done with your time to make things better? It wasn't just virtue signaling to make yourself look good. What have you fought for? So I think all the things that I spoke about here and the effort that I've been putting in with my wife and some other people over the last number of years is the reason why this unbelievable car was donated to Genius Garage. Because I think the secret kings that be would like to see a mythological sword used by someone who's fighting for the right reasons. So, this is a heavy video. It's got a lot of edge. But this is the world, guys. I think we can make it better. So come back next week. We'll have a little more fun. We're going to do a tech review on this. And I've got something very different in mind for how young people may get the opportunity to be part of this car. And as far as I'm concerned, this car can sit here and rot until the right people are here to be part of it. Because I think it should exist to make the world be a better place in the future. But done in such a way that it will continue, even if I'm not around anymore. All right, guys, that's it. Subscribe, click that bell. See you next time.
Huge thank you to Crushproof Tubing Company. Since 1949 in Macomb, Ohio, they've been manufacturing custom rubber and plastic tubes for every industry imaginable. No tooling or mold costs, fast and free custom samples, and American-made quality is what sets them apart. But for me, I'm most excited about their exhaust evacuation kit. Different modular pieces and their convoluted custom hoses make it so that I can adapt any car, truck, or motorcycle with an internal combustion engine to get those exhaust gases out of my shop so I can keep working in safety and comfort. But beyond just that, they build a variety of hoses for a custom OEM world. You'll see stretchable drain tubing and bellows, as well as agriculture, medical, and military. So again, guys, Crushproof Tubing Company, crushproof.com, and go down in the description below to see where to get your free samples for industry or your exhaust tubing.